Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the case of Abrego Garcia again, which is getting more and more convoluted, but which I also fear is heading like a freight train to one conclusion, which is the United States deport him to a third country. The big event yesterday was a hearing in Judge Paula Zenis' courtroom. Zenis is the one who has the habeas corpus action after he was sent improperly down to CCOT in El Salvador. Habeas corpus was filed and wound up in her courtroom, and she's the one who said, bring him back, basically. Facilitate it, but I mean bring him back, and they did. But with that nasty DOJ twist of charging him with the crimes in the Middle District of Tennessee involving alleged transport of unlawful aliens. That criminal case is now getting going in its early stages. And the DOJ, when they brought him back, couldn't have been more earnest and emphatic. We are trying him here. These are serious crimes. He'll serve justice here, and then we will deport him after. That represented a complete reversal from their previous repeated stance to different courts, but including Zenis saying he will never see the shores of the U.S. again. We're going to deport him. All this is irrelevant because he's not coming back. Then they were forced to bring him back and did what they thought was that clever switcheroo of the criminal charges. And so now we have an exceedingly complicated, kind of weird Mobius strip or fourth dimension chess or whatever, because we have two different proceedings, one criminal and one potential, anyway, civil. The civil would be the deportation, and two different venues down in Tennessee where he actually remains in detention because he has asked it, because he fears that even though the judge says you can leave with certain conditions, if he actually steps foot outside those confines, the ICE agents will come and grab him and deport him right away. So he's trying madly to figure out a way to avoid that outcome, be able to be here maybe and face criminal charges that to many, including me, seem fairly dubious and far from certain that the U.S. would gain a conviction. And he's filed emergency motions in both Tennessee and in Maryland. We know about the action in Tennessee. They're right now, the judge there is looking at an emergency motion. And yesterday, Judge Zenis did the same. Now, on the one hand, it was a brutal hearing for the Department of Justice. Judge Zenis was exasperated. She again and again said, as officers of the court, you need to tell me things. That's code language for quit screwing around and start being forthcoming, as is your duty to the court, or you may find yourself in hot water with the court and the various things that the court can do. But she pressed, because Abrego has come before her and said, keep them from deporting me. She had questioned in a 3-hour hearing, like 2.5 hours was her questioning the DOJ attorney, which at a certain high point of frustration, she analogized to trying to nail Jello to a wall, because you had the DOJ attorney, as they've done all the way through, bobbing and weaving and being non-committal. She said, look, I need to know, in order to adjudicate Abrego's emergency motion, are you going to deport him? Or is that your plan? If he is free, as the court in Tennessee has ruled he can be, by free I mean out on with conditions pending his criminal trial. So not so free, wearing an ankle bracelet and the like, but being in Maryland, are you just going to come and drag him away? and you had double speak, triple speak, quadruple speak from the DOJ attorney, who, if to add to the 4 dimensions, there's sort of 6 dimensions, because DOJ is saying, well, there's us, but there's also Department of Homeland Security, and we can't vouch for them. And they were perfectly ambiguous and uninformative. So Judge Zenis, in frustration, said, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. I'm having a hearing on Thursday. I want testimony at that hearing. That means a government agent comes, raises his right hand, and gives me all the information about what you're planning to do with Abrego. Are you, in fact, saying you're going to just deport him right away and forget the whole criminal trial? Directly contrary to what they said before. Now, quick aside from me, Harry, I've been saying for weeks, that's exactly what these bastards are going to do. They've done everything they can to make his life miserable, and B, keep information from coming out from being revealed about what they did or didn't do when he's down in El Salvador or taking him there. And the deportation makes the whole thing go away and prevents there being any live dispute, like a criminal trial that would be a vehicle for Abrego being able to produce this information. So they're content, the DOJ, to wait until this emergency motion is adjudicated, one down in Tennessee and one up here. And Zenis was obviously super frustrated because, on the one hand, it's just such a stark contrast. The DOJ was behaving so out of character for how they are supposed to, that is, before last January rolled around, totally squirrely, unforthcoming, and the like. And she has ordered this up. But there are a few things that could happen come Thursday. They could put somebody on the stand at some perfect middling level of something and just continue to be non-committal. Well, we're not sure, still talking about it with the client. And what happens then? They could, in fact, try to appeal her order of a hearing. They could go to the Fourth Circuit and say, we don't have to tell a federal court judge even to adjudicate this motion what we're going to do. Our stance is we haven't decided yet. It's up to us, and go pound sand. And then Judge Zenis it would be really a sort of game of chicken, because she would then have to decide this emergency motion, but without the knowledge that she has ordered is essential. But I think at that time, when it comes to it, she's still it'd be very tenuous to just order them not to deport him. What he has going for him is a statement in the Supreme Court emergency shadow docket that went up there, and where they said you should put him in the position he was in had you not mistakenly deported him. And that, you could say, means he would have never been picked up and this would have never been happening. But, at this point, it has happened. And are they real? I think the executive authority is such that it's just going to be, if she says, you've behaved reprehensibly, which she may well. You've been completely unresponsive to the court, which seems very true. You've been squirrely and deceptive from the start, all true. Therefore, you may not deport them. That's a really tough one that the U.S. would immediately seek emergency review on in the Fourth Circuit, and then the friendly confines of the Supreme Court. So, summary. Hearing yesterday, and the judge is really sympathetic to the plight of Abrego, as indeed anybody would be. He's been jerked around for no fault of his own, top to bottom, but she's flailing, trying to figure out a way to potentially order them to keep him around, to face the criminal charges. And by the way, that's a second kind of problem. You can't really order the DOJ to go through with criminal charges. They always have the discretion to drop them. We saw this in the Adams case, maybe with prejudice, maybe without, but they always have that discretion. So I think it is, on the one hand, completely tawdry, nasty, discredited performance on their part, and Thursday won't be any more satisfying. But it's heading in short order to a showdown. And if the showdown is between an Article 3 judge telling the DOJ, you may not deport, and the DOJ or Department of Homeland Security is saying, oh, yes, we can, I think the administration, as reprehensible as it's been, wins that contest going up on appeal. So we're in this short period where we see whether either a judge in Tennessee or in Maryland is able to come up with something ingenious. But I find it hard to conceive of the state of affairs and the state of the law that would permit them to make them go through with what they promised they would and said was so important to, namely the criminal charges. I think we'll see a total shift and a movement onto the detention path to a third country at their first opportunity. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.